It's Friday, June 23rd. This is an end of the day, an end of a short week SPY recap. And today we end up with a 2 down bar that took out the low of the previous day. It held the midpoint of the previous day. And we closed, slightly green, but it's more of a shooter bar look, which means we gapped down a little bit and before moving up slightly, but overall kind of a negative day. So before you even get into what opportunities were there today, I think it's important to look at the bigger picture first and what's going on this week. If we go to the weekly chart, we've been discussing this. You've had all these weeks in a row up, and this week just ended with a red inside week. So in other words, all it is a little bit of consolidation within this uptrend at the moment. Yes, we have a kind of an inside bar that we now have to see how do we get out of that next week. Do we go up or down? And if we go down, when I see an inside bar, I don't really see that as a major reversal bar. If anything, I see it as a form of consolidation. I look for the failure. So it's possible we go down and then we kind of hit our target, which would be this low, and continue, much lower. I mean, anything's possible, but in general, I'm just seeing this as a consolidation area. And even when it was going up all week, I was, hoping for some kind of pullback consolidation before getting long again. So it's not surprising that you had this type of a week. And then if you really look at the days of this week, first of all, just keeping in mind, at least the way I like to view structure every day to keep me consistent. It's not perfect, but I look at the midpoint of the prior day. So obviously on this day, we were below the midpoint of this day. On this day, we were below the midpoint of that day. We opened up, we gapped down here below the midpoint of the prior day. And today we gapped down. So all 4 days, there was no clear buy signal. I thought yesterday after the green bar might hold the midpoint of that bar and start up, but we gapped much lower. So really all week, we were kind of pulling back, and yet the structure, if I look at all 4 days, the kind of the x-ray look into all 4 days, really it was only Tuesday where we got the first move down, and that was for just an hour or so before it rallied all the way back up, and there was kind of a morning trade there. Every other day, on the move down, we kind of failed and went up. Here, we just kind of made 2 pushes and try to get short because you're below the halfway point of the prior day, but it just didn't go anywhere. This day, it actually gapped down and went up. Today it gapped down and went up again. So you're sitting there with kind of negative daily, structure in terms of being below the midpoint of the prior day. But in many cases, the intraday structure then is finding some buying. So it's a little tricky to trade. It doesn't mean there aren't good stocks out there. I mean, if you look today, I'll just a couple of stocks I looked at, like Snowflake here. You can see here right out of the gates, this one opened up and had 2 pushes up. So you can find, the good stocks, and that's above the halfway point of the prior day. So, you have to kind of just look around and instead of really focusing on the indexes this week, just look for individual opportunities. If you were going to trade the SPY, you had to kind of just know you're in this consolidation area and we're waiting for, ideally, a good uptrend, or a good buy signal to unfold, which really didn't this week. There were a couple of, like today would have been a decent, first move up, pause, one pullback, second push to new high. Same thing happened kind of yesterday, 1 push up, pause. We talked about consolidate, push to new high. So there was kind of, you could have nibbled to the long side, but nothing really followed through. So anyway, we come into the next week and the end of the month with an inside bar, with a red look to it. So you think, you should probably test lower, but keep in mind the possibility of a failure. On the weekly chart, the failure in the big picture would be a kind of a move below those lows. The best failure would be you don't reach your target down here and then you come back through the midpoint of that bar. If we somehow start up, maybe we, consolidate even more for a while, but we're still kind of, the big picture trend is up, and we'll see if any buy opportunities unfold and I guess keep nibbling to the downside if something really looks clear on the charts. But today, in terms of the SPY itself, it gapped pretty much lower. And again, getting back to, I had discussed how there was a double bottom here that was exactly even, and I was always anticipating that taking out. So even yesterday on the close, I thought we might rally first, but I always suspected we'd come down and take those two things out. So we kind of did that today right at the open, and that's why, once it started higher, you kind of got the feeling maybe you were just taking out the liquidity of these stops here, and you were going to bounce. But in the end, it didn't really hold up, and we kind of fell off a little bit. So maybe there's still more pullback to go, but it becomes a little tricky now. I think things might begin to unfold a little bit more next week on the daily charts, given this, if we want to really start up again. And we'll find that out. But in the meantime, we're still in consolidation until we get a good buy signal. And there is a buy signal tomorrow or a Monday, above the midpoint of this day, starting higher. So we'll keep that in mind. But in the end, we still have to kind of break out one way or the other on this weekly chart, either up or down. And to me, it's this weekly chart failing, which is going to really make me negative. But until then, I'm just seeing it as a lot of consolidation. So let's just see how the last week of the month ends and how we get out of this inside bar.